All right, welcome back to Inside College Basketball Now with Jon Rothstein. Pleased to be joined by Alabama head coach Nate Oats. And Nate, welcome. And the holiday season is obviously a time to reflect. 10 years ago, you were in your first season as a Division I head coach at Buffalo. And on this date, you were 4-5, but that season did wind up in the NCAA tournament. What do you remember 10 years later about that first season at Buffalo?
That's a good point. We didn't have a great start. We had a tough schedule, if I remember. Remember we went through it a little bit in the beginning, and then we had a AD change. Danny White took the job at Central Florida, but Alan Green took over. Alan was great. They're both doing pretty well for themselves now. Danny's at Tennessee, Alan's at Pitt.
Yep.
And we got it together enough to make a run. Blake Hamilton hit some big shots late in the MAC championship. We won it. We went to the NCAA tournament for the second time in school history. We went the year before, and then Bobby got that job at Arizona State. And now Blake Hamilton's a GA here with me at Alabama, like going to work on the scout team every day. So it was an interesting year, but it was a little up and down. We got it together at the end and made the NCAA tournament. We played Miami. Shane Larkin was pretty good. We lost the first round, but it was a good year.
Nate, did you always aspire to be a coach in college, or were you fine being in Michigan running a successful high school program as you were before you went to Buffalo?
You know what? When I was coming up, I wanted to be a college coach. Like when I was a high school kid, I kind of fell in love with basketball. I realized I wasn't going to play for any kind of money, so the next best option was to coach. So I knew I wanted to coach college and high school, college. Started coaching college at a very small level, like where I played at Maranatha. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, which is a really good Division III program. And honestly, I would have been happy staying in Division III, getting a head job in Division III, and seeing what happened. That's kind of so. But then I had a friend, a college teammate of mine that's from Detroit, Ed Horn, got me to interview at Romulus, and I decided to change career paths. It's interesting how stuff works, but I took the high school job for 11 years. When I first took that, I would have taken any Division I, low, major, whatever, anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
I would have thought to get into Division I. Well, then as that went on and I got to meet different coaches, one of them being Dusty May, who was at Eastern Michigan, all these other coaches, and you see how it works. And a bunch of these guys are moving every 2-3 years. And I ended up having 3 daughters there in outside Detroit. I got, honestly, like Bob Hurley Sr., I didn't know him, watched everything he did from afar, but kind of became a little bit of a inspiration, if you will. This guy's turned down all these not high major, I should say, but Division I head coaching jobs to stay at high school, and he's one of the best coaches in the country. So maybe I'm good just staying at Romulus for the rest of my career. And then right about when you get to that point, then the Hurleys come in and Bob offers me a job. And at that point, if I was going to get into college, I said, I got to go with somebody that I'm confident is going to win. And the Hurleys all win. Like Bob Sr., Dan, Bobby's winning this coach in Arizona State basketball history. So this to me was a no-brainer. And they respected high school coaches a lot more than what a typical college. So I had gotten very comfortable. Like I could have stayed at Romulus the rest of my career and been fine. But when that opportunity opened up, I felt like I had to take it.
And obviously, your first opportunity in college was on the staff at Buffalo under Bobby Hurley. When was the first time you heard from the Hurley brothers about joining the staff? I know that they recruited E.C. Matthews, one of your players, to Rhode Island, but about joining the staff.
So, interesting enough, I actually contacted, so me and my assistant, Josh Baker, used to go every fall to an NBA training camp and a college. Like we try to hit one of each to learn. So I said, when Dan got the job at Wagner, I'm like, Baker, how about we go down to Wagner? So I call Wagner's office. Bob answers the phone. Mind you, this is like a guy who grew up admiring, watching, like, oh, Bobby Hurley on the phone. He must not have a secretary at Wagner. So I explained to Bob what we were trying to do. He's like, yeah, great. We exchanged, we text. I tried to go when Bob Sr. was going to be there so we could pick his brain. Never worked out. But I stayed in touch with them. Preston Murphy had been recruiting EC to Rhode Island before Dan got the job. Well, when Dan got it, now it's like, now they're a real contender because, he had I took him on a visit to UConn. He
Right.
took official visit to Iowa, Marquette. I mean, everybody's recruiting him. So he ends up committing to Rhode Island before Dan ever coaches a game. And part of the recruitment was you're going to come learn how to be a point guard from Bobby. Well,
Right.
we go through the year. We get to the end of the year. We win the state championship. Bob gets the job. I text Dan that day, hey, listen, talk to EC at school. He's 100% all in, still coming. No worries there. Let's talk later. So he called me that night. We chopped it up about EC. Everything's good, blah, blah, blah. Congrats. My thing in my text to Dan, too, I said, congrats. I think he had 3 coaches already go get head jobs from under him,
Yeah.
because his assistant had gotten it at Wagner, or at least two in 3 years. And then
Yeah.
Bob had gotten it. I said, congrats. Super happy for you, Bob. Really big that you've had multiple assistants get head jobs already. And then when he called me, he's like, man, you have no idea the amount of people have asked me for a job, because essentially now Bob's got 3 and I've
Yeah.
got 1, and everybody's calling me. Man, anybody who's called me about a job, they're done. And then that's kind of how we ended a 20-minute conversation. And then he just threw it out. He's like, hey, Nate, would you be interested in going with Bob? He goes, I can't bring you here. I already got a Michigan guy in Preston on staff. But he's like, are you at all interested in, like, maybe? I was like, yeah, for sure I would be. If he goes, all right, I'm calling him now. I'll get back to you. So within 20 minutes, text from Dan, Bob's going to call you. We set the interview up for the Final Four. I interviewed, and things must have gone well enough. He hired me.
Well, really well. And then, you fast forward into the future. Bobby gets Arizona State, and now the Buffalo job is open. When you found out that Bobby was going to Arizona State after the success you guys had at Buffalo, did you think that there was a real chance that you could be promoted to head coach?
I knew there was a chance. I didn't know how big of a chance. Because again, as an assistant, I tried to stay in my role. My role wasn't to communicate with the administration.
Right.
There's chains of command. I knew Danny. I knew Alan. I liked him. I got along great. I just didn't talk to him all that frequently. That was Bob's job. So, when it all went down, that day he's down there. I stayed in. Levi Watkins went with him. I stayed with Ben
Yeah.
Wood, and they immediately, Alan and Danny said, hey, we're going to name you the interim coach till we figure out what's going on. And then Danny said, hey, do you have time to talk? That was like the day of.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, if you want a whole portfolio and everything, you're going to have to give me till tomorrow. If you just want to talk basketball and what I'm
Right.
about and all this, like, I'm ready to talk whenever. So he said, like, give me time. He met with the team. Man, we ended up meeting for 2 or 3 hours that same night. Came back the next morning, met for some more hours. And then, shoot, I think it took him about 48 hours. He hired me. So I'd send Danny periodic text still, like, listen, man, thanks for the opportunity. There's no way he had to. I mean, he had enough confidence in himself that he could hire a guy that had only been out of high school 2 years and think outside the box a little bit. I mean, he was thinking outside the box when he hired Bobby with only,
Right.
a couple of years experience. So a lot of credit to Danny White for giving me the job with 2 years experience in Division I, and I was just been a high school guy. I mean, that was 2015. Like you said, 2013, I won the state championship in Michigan.
So, Nate, you have great success at Buffalo. And I mean, you won games in the NCAA tournament. You beat DeAndre Ayton in Arizona one year. The next year, ironically enough, you beat Arizona State. And prior to that, you guys won a ton of games. You won, a game at Syracuse and so on and so forth. And you build one of the best mid-majors in college basketball. But then Greg Byrne calls at Alabama. What was the initial dialogue like between the two of you when he called?
Yeah, so that, like you said, that was the year that, we beat Arizona State, and then we lost to Texas Tech and lost in the national championship year. So that game was on a Sunday. We fly back home on a Monday. I land in Buffalo. And I checked my voicemail after the plane lands, and there's a voicemail from Greg Byrne on that Monday. And I mean, you know how it gets at the end of the year. You say, what you're saying, we rest in May?
We sleep in May.
Yeah, we sleep in May. Well,
Yeah.
it was the end of March, and I was ready to sleep for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was wiped out. So I just man, I'm going to give these guys a couple weeks off. I'm going to rejuvenate, rest. We'll get at this thing in 2 weeks. So I get that message, and it was almost like, oh no, like, dude, I can't rest now. Like, I got so I call my agent. Rick says, yep, I've done my research. That's a job that, you 100% should go after. And if we can get it, you need to take it. Like, they got all the resources in the world. They've won at the highest level at pretty much every other sport. They're just waiting for basketball. And so I called Greg on my drive home, and he was basically like, look, man, we'd like to come in, have a conversation with you, talk to you, what's your schedule look like? He says, we'll be there tomorrow night. So that was a Monday, late afternoon,
Yeah.
and I'm wiped out from the season. He's coming in Tuesday night, and I had about 24 hours, and I went to my video guy, Tommy Fox. I'm like, Tommy, give me the last 5 Alabama games. I Adam Bowen, who's with me still. We kind of got
Yeah.
some stuff together, and Jeff Purinton and Greg Byrne flew into. I picked him up Niagara Falls, and it was a great balmy spring day. I don't know, probably 40 degrees. First time over freezing all winter. I don't know. I was like, man, it's great weather. They're like, man, this sucks. We had a good conversation Tuesday night, and on Wednesday morning they offered me the job. So it was a quick turnaround, and then I had to let my daughters know that we were moving. That didn't go over so well, but they've adapted well. They like it down here in Tuscaloosa, and Lexi's about to graduate. She's a senior at Alabama this year, so things have moved quite a bit since that day.
You know, Nate, obviously when you're a mid-major coach, the allure of a power conference job is always something that's natural, but you haven't just taken a power conference job. You've made Alabama into one of the best programs in the country. How have you done it?
I mean, we had a system with how we wanted to play, and not really anybody was playing that way in the SEC. So I think when you come in and you're doing it different and kind of how everybody else is, it's easier to do it right away because you're a different type scout than what the rest of everybody's doing. So we came in, put the system in year one. And when I say the system, playing fast, spreading the floor, taking a lot of threes, opening the floor up for driving lanes. It's really good for guards, and it's really good for skilled bigs that play in the perimeter. If you're post up big that going to plot up and down the floor and wait for the ball, it's not great. But the problem was we didn't have a roster for it. And the year I took over, there was no transfer portal. Everybody had to sit. If you remember, we got Quinterly. We tried to get a waiver. I thought he should have got it. He had a way better case than a bunch of them but typical, it doesn't make any sense, and they don't let him play. So, we couldn't flip the roster right away. So we were one game over 500, and we're not headed towards the NCAA tournament. So I can say without lying that we've made every single NCAA tournament since I've been here. But if they would have had one in year one, we wouldn't have made it.
Right.
So but we put it in. So it's like some coaches will say, well, we're going to play fast when we get the right roster, and then 5 years later they still haven't got the right roster, I guess. And no, we just did it right away. So then year two, we were able to add more pieces. Quinterly got eligible. Some freshmen came in that we had recruited. And we won the SEC regular season tournament, 2 seed, made a Sweet 16, and then we kind of had a roll, and then it made recruiting better. Hodgson, Petway were able to recruit some really good players here. We got it going, and shoot, by year 4, we were the best team in the country, and we were the #1 overall seed. Now look, you got to get talented players, but I think we have a very dedicated system. This is how we're going to play. Everybody that comes in here knows this is how we're going to play. We tell them in recruiting, we've got the whole all summer long. We teach them, and it's still more and more people are starting to play a little closer to how we're doing it. I think we're still a little ahead of most people, particularly with the way that we play in that regard. There's really good college programs that play a lot different than us, but we play a little bit different than what most college programs are playing right now.
Who do you patent your system after?
Whoever I like in the NBA. Honestly, I went to 4 different NBA practices, camps, training camps this year. I try to study the best offenses or the offenses that fit our personnel in the year. Like, for instance, year 2 at Alabama here when we had Herb.
Yeah.
Now nobody was letting anybody in because it was COVID, but we studied Milwaukee a lot. They had Giannis. Herb was our 4. Giannis is essentially Milwaukee's point guard if you watch him play. And then they had Brook Lopez as a spacing 5 who looks like a 7'2" guard on offense. And we had Herb kind of play the role of Giannis, and then we had Alex Reese, Jordan Bruner play like. So I studied a lot of Milwaukee stuff that year. I've gotten to know Joe Mazzulla really well. good friends with them. I love the way Boston plays. They take a ton of threes. We just took 57 our last game. So like, I'll just go study. I've got NBA assistants. Chris Fleming's run our offense. He's been unbelievable. I love him. Great. Brought an innovative Ryan Pannone before that. Brian Adams run our defense. Charlie Henry before that. They all came out of the NBA. So I try to hire guys that I want to learn from. I've learned a lot of basketball from all those guys, and I try to go study as much as I can from people that are playing modern basketball a lot better than we are, and just try to pick what I can from that. I will say this though, as a high school coach, the one guy that I spent a whole week with them, and a lot of people won't know who he is, but they should if they're basketball junkies. Vance Wahlberg.
Yeah,
So
dribble drive.
yeah, like way back when, whatever the first year he was at Pepperdine when he came from Fresno City College, I'd gotten 6 of his games. He just sent me 6 DVDs of games of his, and he was scoring like 150, 160. I mean, it was ridiculous. 180, I think, one game. Like playing fast. We studied it. I spent a whole week. Me and Baker went out there to LA when he got the Pepperdine job. I spent a whole week with him. I still talk to him. I think he's very innovative offensively, and I took a lot of his offensive stuff. We don't do the defense really, not at all. We don't. But like, that was like the first one that really got me to understand how to open the floor and give more spacing back when I was a high school coach.
Nate, Alabama in the past has had pockets of success. Obviously, Avery Johnson had some good teams there, and so did Anthony Grant. Mark Gottfried made the Elite Eight in 2004, lost to UConn, but there was never really sustained success at Alabama. Did that attract you more to the job, that you could come to a place where there hadn't been sustained success and you would be the one to build that?
It certainly didn't hurt. Like it's a lot of credit to Coach DeBoer here, replacing Nick Saban. That's not an easy job to do. Like you're replacing the best coach to ever do it. So, it's a little different at Duke. Shire's done an unbelievable job replacing Coach K. That was going to be an impossible job to do, but he played there, worked under him, kind of natural. Like, so to come in from the outside and replace one of the greats would be really hard. And like you said, Avery had Colin Sexton. They had that really good run that year. Anthony Grant had some good years, Gottfried, but it hadn't been sustained over a period of time. Like it had been to 2 NCAA tournaments in the previous 13 years before I got here. If all you did was just make the NCAA tournament every year, I think they counted it real success. Well, the plan wasn't just to make the tournament every year. Like we had a lot bigger goals than that. They've won national championships in 6 different sports here. This place wins. The infrastructure in the athletic department is as good as anybody in the country. Our AD's as good as, I think he's the best AD in the country. The board, the president, everybody prioritizes athletics. So the opportunity it was here to win, and they hadn't done it at a high level. So yeah, it was a little intriguing. You're coming in, if you can get it going, you could put the program at the highest level it's ever been. And honestly, I think that's where we're at. Like they had never made a Final Four. We're the only school in the country that's played in an Elite Eight and a Final Four the last 2 years.
Yep.
You go look at the last 5 years, which is pretty much after COVID. Go look at all the teams in the country after COVID, outside of the team that won the national championship that year, and obviously UConn's won too. Like Houston's made more Sweet 16s, I think one more than us. That's it. Nobody else made more Sweet 16s than us, I believe. I think like the winning, we've won more SEC games than everybody in the SEC. So we've been able to do it at a pretty high level. We've only made 1 Final Four and we haven't won a national championship. So we're going to keep working until we can get it at that level. There's still a couple levels to go here.
Nate, it obviously used to be the path for any coach to go to the place every year where you could have the best chance to win the national championship. But in this climate, as long as you have the resources and the infrastructure, is it almost in a circumstance now where if you have those things in place, you don't need to chase a job that's associated with being a blue blood?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that because we've proven you can win here. That's not, Preston's doing the bulk of the recruiting here for us, and he calls us a new blood, which that's fine. I don't care what you call us, but we're one of the best college basketball programs in the country over the last 5 years. So, and they've got the resources here. They're building, shoot, right there. You can see it from this where I'm sitting. They're building us a brand new practice facility, office space. It's going to be, I think, the best in the country. I've seen a lot. I don't think there's going to be a better one. So, like, if it's, building, NIL, rev share, all that stuff, like they've got it. It's at a high level, and we've been able to win at the highest level. Like I said, I mean, the SEC was the best league in college basketball history last year. And if you look at the last 5 years, we won more SEC games, we won more championships. We've got four, two regular season, two tournaments. Nobody's won four. Somebody's won three, somebody's won two, nobody's won four, nobody's won more games than us. So I don't think I have to leave to go to a blue blood per se. Now, we'll see. Everything changes year to year, and we'll see how people adapt and all that with the new rev share. This is the first year of rev share. We're
Right.
watching to see how everything works, but we've been able to compete at a pretty high level here every year so far, and I think our administration's got a really good plan for the new environment that we're in now.
Nate, I've used this parallel over the last, month or so because of the great start you guys have had. In a lot of ways for this generation, you are to Alabama what Lute Olson was to Arizona because you've built a great program at a place where consistently there wasn't a great program before. Do you think when you took this job in 2019 that you'd have this deep a tie to Alabama, less than obviously a decade later?
No, because I never really spent any time in Alabama before I got here, so I didn't really know the people. They didn't know me, but it didn't take long. I met them. They're some of the friendliest people in America. Their values are real similar to my values down here. They've embraced us. Obviously, winning helps. Like I realize that at my job, but even outside of just basketball, I've gotten to know some people and make some really good friends with the people just because we've got a lot of the same core values. Like you talk about being down in the Bible Belt. My faith's really important to me. You're down here, you're for sure in the Bible Belt. So plus the weather's great. Shoot, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, not that long ago, I had my girls out tubing on the lake on January 1st. It was 75 degrees. They said, let's do it, Dad. Like we shoot up in Buffalo at January 1. You got ice chunks floating down the river. You're not tubing on the lake on January 1. So the weather's great. The people are great, and the winning's been great. So we're fully entrenched here. Like I said, Lexi's graduating from Alabama this year. Jossie's going to be a senior in high school next year, so she's essentially grown up here. Burrell's in 8th grade, loves it. She's in travel volleyball team up in Birmingham. Matter of fact, her teammate's Avery DeBoer. So her and Coach DeBoer's daughter are teammates on a Alabama performance volleyball up there. They've all dove in. They love it here. I love it here. I've made a lot of good friends here.
So you reference obviously the fact that you don't think you need to leave for a blue blood to have a chance to win a national title, and you don't because you went to the Final Four 2 years ago. You went to the Elite Eight last year, and you also referenced that your girls are getting older. I remember we talked about this a couple of years ago. You obviously have an interest in philosophical things from the NBA and your own coaching. Is coaching in the NBA someday something that you might like to explore down the road?
Yeah, maybe if the opportunity came up, but it's not like I've turned down an NBA job. They've never been offered to me. So
Yeah.
I don't want to act like I'm not Dan Hurley. Like I didn't get an NBA offer and go through it. I got to win at a higher level here. But the travel in the NBA, I don't know if that's conducive to raising my kids at the age they're at right now. So I love it here. The one thing that would intrigue you is competing at that level. That's the best level of basketball in the world. So,
Right.
There's a competitive nature in everybody that wants to compete against the best at what they do. And I feel like this is a really high level, and we got some of the best coaches in the history of basketball coaching right now. Some of the best coaches are coaching in our league right now. I mean, you look at some of the guys in our league. They're in the Hall of Fame. Calipari's won national championships. Rick Barnes, one of the best coaches ever. You look at some of these guys. I mean, Coach Pearl just retired. He's won absolutely everywhere he's been. I think he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's a great chance he ends up there. Like, I've gotten to coach against some of the best coaches that I've ever coached. I lost to him, but we just coached against Mark Few, will be in the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah.
I love it where I'm at now. I wouldn't say I would never be interested in that, but at the stage of life I'm in right now, I couldn't be in a better spot. Testing myself against some of the best in the world. I mean, shoot, I've got Chris Fleming on staff, was the German national team head coach. He's my assistant now. Like, what was that? Romulus 10 years ago,
Right.
or 12 years ago, whatever it was, 2013, we were winning the
Yeah.
state championship. Like I'm a high school coach that caught a couple breaks in life. I'm gonna be super happy for what my situation is. I love where I'm at right now, and I'm learning a lot of basketball still.
Nate, what was it like to watch the Final Four last year after the year prior you were a participant in the Final Four?
Disappointing because we wanted to be there. It changed. When I was a high school coach, Division III assistant, you're just happy to be at the Final Four. You're going through the lobby. Who can I run into? So sleeping on a hotel room floor of a buddy because you can't afford it. So that's like the quintessential D coaches. They're all there. And all of a sudden you're playing in it. Like quick turn of events, and it's pretty cool. And playing against Dan Hurley, who I got a lot of respect for, who I know really well. And then the next year, you got a team that feel like you should be back. You got a lot of the key guys back, and you're not there. We lost to a really good Duke team. We had a chance to win the whole thing, but disappointing. You make it all the way to that last game before it. You make it to the Elite Eight and don't play particularly well, to be honest with you. We had that BYU game where we had 25 threes and blew them out. The game before, you're on a high. All of a sudden, 2 days later, you lose to Duke, and now you're home watching the Final Four. And it's not. I'm going to say this. I don't think it's going to feel the same ever again after you played in it. As long as I'm coaching, if you're not playing in it, it's not going to be like I'm at the Final Four. Like, hey, this is not like I'm going to be mad I'm not in it if I'm not in it. So the goal is to be in it every year now.
Well, how is the team you're coaching right now 7-2 with the schedule you've played?
Listen, we've had a lot of injuries. We've got some really good wins. Up in your city up there at the Garden, we beat St. John's early. First week of the season, great win for us. One in Chicago against Illinois, great win. Maryland out in Vegas, but we've also got a couple losses where I feel like we learned a lot in them. The Purdue one, we didn't play great. We didn't rebound it well. We got our butt kicked on the glass, down 24 on the glass. It's hard to beat a team like that. And I just watch Iowa State, what they did to them. I mean, like, Purdue was tougher than us. Iowa State was tougher than Purdue. Tougher team's going to win in most of these games. I think with the way we set our schedule up, we're going to know who we are, what we got to work on, and have plenty of chance to work on it before we hit SEC play. So that first SEC game early January against Kentucky, we've got another opportunity against Arizona. I mean, shoot, we just lost to Tommy Lloyd's mentor, Mark Few at Gonzaga. They out-toughed us. We've got 2 losses, beat on the glass both games. We got out-tough both games. So we got to get tougher. We got to get more physical, and we got a great opportunity to prove to ourselves and everybody else have we made strides in that area or not, because Arizona is one of the most physical teams in the country. They're number 1 in the country. They're coming to Birmingham. So I like to sketch. I don't know if we're number 1, but when whoever's ahead of us in strength of schedule takes a bunch of bye games. As far as high majors go, we got the best strength of schedule again for about the 3rd year in a row. It's pretty much every year, and I like it that way. We'll be well prepared for SEC play, and we don't need to go unscathed. Like, we took losses that year. We were the number 1 overall seed. We didn't go undefeated in non-conference play, but we got better from those games. We're going to get better for these games we played. And we'll get better after Saturday. Arizona's a great team. Tommy's a good coach. Done a really good job there. And whether we win or lose, we're going to be a lot better for playing that game.
And entering the game against Arizona, you're going to take an average of 95.1 points per game each outing. Where does the explosiveness of this Alabama team compare to the most explosive teams you've had as a head coach?
It's right up there at the top because we got so much shooting. I think you know, the way we were able to shoot threes. Now we haven't shot it great in all the games so far, but we've been a little banged up. You know, Reitzel's been out. He's one of the best shooters on the team. Holloway's been out. He's one of the best shooters on the team. You know, Houston Millette's coming off the redshirt year last year. He's still not comfortable. He's going to be one of the best shooters. So when we get all of our shooters healthy and playing and our chemistry's right, probably the most explosive team we've had, I think, but we've had some pretty good ones. We're averaging more points than we have, you know, first season ever. You know, we offensively we've been pretty good. Defensively, we got to get a lot better. So we're working on it. I think getting healthy will help. Getting Keaton Bristow back will definitely help the defense out. Getting Reitzel back, he's tough physical guard, a lot of experience. He's going to make us better on both sides of the ball for sure. So getting back to full health will help our defense, you know, but we got to get better at some stuff. It's not just getting healthy. We got to, players that have been healthy got to be better for us, and we got to be better as coaches, and we got to do a better job. So if we can get both, you know, I looked this morning, Arizona's top 10 in both. I think on KenPom, they're 9th and 9th. Well, we're third, I believe, on offense, but we're top 50 in defense. Like we need to be top 20 on defense, not top 50. So we've been third in the country 2 different years here on defense. We're more than capable. We got to get our defense shored up here.
Well, you know, Nate, obviously one focal point for your team has been Labaron Philon, who had great moments last season. And I remember doing, you know, your first and second round games in the NCAA tournament in Cleveland, and you could see this guy was kind of waiting his turn behind Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, Cliff Amore, and he decided at the last minute to not go to the NBA draft and come back. But he is having now an All-American caliber season for Alabama. What has it been like from your perspective to see this guy take over a bigger piece of the pie?
Yeah, it's been really good to watch his development. He's a great kid. He's really smart. You know, he loves Alabama. He's an Alabama kid from down in Mobile. And so, I mean, it's great. I love watching this. You know, nobody had projected him to be a first-round pick when we got him. Now they're talking, you know, could be a lottery pick if he keeps playing like he is. I got a chance to be SEC Player of the Year multiple times. He's been SEC Player of the Week already. You know, we got to get him back to guarding like he did his freshman year. He's an elite defender. He should be an elite defender with his instincts, athleticism, size. So he's taking on a lot bigger offensive role without Mark Sears being here and with some of our guys being hurt and stuff. So he's capable of having a huge offensive game. We need him to be elite on both sides of the ball so that we can win at the highest level and he can win. But it's been really good to watch his development. I mean, shoot, when he came in, you know, he was originally signed with Kansas. They took all the transfer guards, and he kind of his point when they reached out to us, like, you know, would you guys be interested? And I'd shoot at that point. We had one scholarship open. I was like, yeah, you know, we'd be interested. But we brought up, you know, there's a possibility he may have to redshirt. We got a pretty full backcourt here, you know. He's like, look, coach, if I'm not playing, I'd rather be home in Alabama. I'll come back, work my tail off, see what happens. Well, by about the end of June, we knew he wasn't redshirting. He was dominating practice as a freshman. He just came in with a chip on his shoulder like he had something to prove. And I think he's still got a lot to prove. And I love kids like that. Some of our best players have been some of these mid-major transfers, some of the underrated guys. You know, Amari Allen, look at him right now. I think he was ranked in the 60s, 70s, depending on what you look at the rankings. I knew he was a lot better than that. I loved him. We made him a priority in our recruiting, and he's proven that we were right. I mean, some people got him popping up on late first round mock drafts after a year. Like London Jimison's been good. Like Davion Hannah's going to be good. He figured out, like, I love watching young guys come in, develop. I think we do a really good job of that. We've done a study here where we've improved guys' draft stock better than anybody in the country since we've been here, and I think Labaron's a case in point on that.
So how, moving forward in this climate, does a head coach in the SEC like yourself balance the dynamic of obviously recruiting transfers, but also recruiting freshmen?
I think you recruit. I still want to build the program on recruiting freshmen. I like to see them develop. I think that's how you build your base. But you have to recruit freshmen that, you know, it's got to be one of two things. Either they're 100% good enough to play right away, or them and everybody in their camp that they're going to listen to fully understands that it's a multi-year process to them getting where they need to get.
Right.
Because if they come in with the expectation that they're going to play right away, but really it's a multi-year deal. Then they leave, and what's the point? You get them for 1 year and then they transfer. Like we've had some of those. We either they thought it was going to be one, we weren't as clear in the communication maybe, or we communicated and they didn't listen. I don't know, or they just weren't as good as what we thought. One of the two. So freshmen either got to be willing to put a couple years in, or they're good enough to play immediately right away. And hopefully most of them are good enough to play right away. And then I think you get to the spring and you see who's staying, who's going, because some of your guys may just decide, like, I'm not playing enough here, I'm not good enough.
Right.
Typically, the guys that have left here just most of the time aren't good enough. We've lost a couple because they got a lot more money somewhere else or whatever. And then you fill in the holes with the transfers. So every spring we'll fill in the holes we need to fill in with the transfers, but we're going to keep recruiting freshmen at a high level and prioritizing them and giving them a chance to really come in here and grow. Because I think if you start in November and you work to March, I think the freshmen have a bigger ceiling to grow than some transfer who's played 3 years of college basketball already. Like
Right.
the transfer is going to grow in your system, but they're not going to grow to the level that the freshmen can grow because they've never played college basketball before. So I still think there's a lot to be. We were the best team in the country 3 years ago with Brandon Miller, Jaden Bradley, and Noah Clowney, all three starting as freshmen the majority of the year. And we didn't shoot it well against San Diego State. We got upset in the Sweet 16, but we were the best team in the country that year. So you can win in this current environment with freshmen. Duke's done it. We've done it. Some other places have done it. So I think you can win that way.
And any team, obviously, to win big has to be healthy. And as you referenced, you guys have battled a lot of injuries in this young season. Are there any updates on the status of three guys, Aiden Holloway, Taylor Bowen, and Keaton Bristow for Saturday's big matchup with Arizona and Birmingham?
Yeah, so Taylor, I don't know, his back just kind of tightened up the day before the game, and we couldn't get a loose that morning. He's been good. He's practiced. He looks normal. So Taylor will be good to go. Keaton is coming back from the lower leg deal, calf, ankle, whatever, like in there. He practiced very limited. We gave him yesterday off. So he practiced very limited Tuesday. He'll be in a lot more today, and then hopefully it looks really good today, and then he's got no setbacks Friday, Saturday, and he's good to go. So we plan on him playing. Holloway has not practiced. He's got a wrist deal, and it keeps getting flared up, so we've just purposely shut him down to not get it bumped in practice. We'll see based on where it's at if he practices today, but his may be I think he can come in and make shots at a pretty high clip, whether he practices today or not. Maybe we just put him in the day before on Friday, have him practice. It'll be a lot lighter tomorrow. And then those other two, based if everything goes well these next couple of days, I would anticipate both them playing, and then Holloway probably more of a game day decision, but he's gonna try playing this game. This is a big one. So you don't get to play the number one team in the country very often. I think we've done it 6 times here since I've been here. This is year 7, so about an average of once a year. So this is our one this year, and I think everybody's wanting to play in this game.
And it's a fascinating contrast because you guys are obviously a perimeter-driven team that's going to take a bunch of shots from the outside. You have great speed. But Arizona is a team that literally punishes its opponents in the paint. How do you counter the size and the physicality of Arizona coming up Saturday night?
Well, I was going to do, because football's a little different. They get a few weeks off before they got to go play in the playoffs. I was going to see if DeBoer had any of those linemen that played basketball in high school, and see if, maybe I couldn't borrow a couple of linemen. Maybe, I don't know, shoot, I probably can't risk a starter, but maybe a backup that was a starting center in high school. So that's the best answer I got for you, because it looks a lot like football on the hardwood. I mean, they got some real athletes. They got some big guys. I mean, I think Koa Pete, man, he's as fast as the guards. He looks like he'd be a tight end in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's good. Krivas is huge. Owaka plays ridiculously hard. I mean, they're good. And those guys get the ball. I mean, it is a priority to punch it to those bigs inside, and those bigs go to work, and this is a team that averages 16 threes a game attempts. They're 363rd out of 365 teams in three-point rate in the country. So they make it very clear where they're trying to score the ball, and it's inside the arc, in the paint, and it's going to be smash mouth, and you better come ready for it. And they're undefeated. They beat everybody. They've been tougher than everybody. We're going to obviously have to make some threes, but we're going to have to defend the paint, and we're going to have to make some tough plays, and we can't get killed on the glass either because they got some real men in there. And our front court's been getting better. Aiden Sherrell's markedly improved over the last month. We're going to need Noah Williams to give us some good solid minutes in there. Taylor's going to have to go rebound with those guys. He did it against St. John's. He's proved he can do it. Getting Keaton Bristow back will be huge. And then London's been good. I mean, London can stretch the floor, pull them out a little bit. I think he can, battle and fight in there, but we're going to have to mix it up. Like we don't expect our bigs to just 100% play those guys one-on-one for 40 minutes down there all game, especially when we know they're really not trying to shoot. I mean, they're starting 1, 2, and 3, all average about one made three a game. So we know where they're trying to score the ball, and they're great at it.
Nate, in doing this as long as I have, I'm always fascinated at how coaches always hold on to tough losses more than they celebrate great wins. In your college career as a head coach, give me one great win that always seems to resonate, and give me one difficult loss that kind of lingers a little bit.
So probably the best win is that first NCAA tournament win I ever had when I was back at Buffalo. You referenced it early in this podcast. Yeah, I mean, shoot. That was the year that everybody felt like the committee kind of screwed Arizona on their seed because they were going through it with the FBI stuff. They should have been a way higher seed. And I felt like the year we had at Buffalo, we should have been a higher seed. So I felt like we really got it on both ends. We were probably a line lower, and they were a line or two lower than what they should have been. So we should have had to play an easier team than them. But that was my initial reaction Sunday night. I was like, man, we got screwed. By the time we got to meet with the team for the first time, I had to flip the whole narrative. Like, no, like, great opportunity. Like, this is it, man. This team's got two bigs. There's no way they're going to guard us. We're going to shoot 53s. We're going to hit 20 of them. Like, we're going to run these guys out of the gym. They ain't seen anything like us. And I just had to pump positivity in the whole. And lo and behold, we didn't shoot 50, but we went 15 to 30. And Jeremy Harris was matched up with DeAndre Ayton, because DeAndre, if you remember, they had Ristic, who was really their 5.
Yeah.
Ayton was their 4. So Jeremy Harris is like a 6'7" 2 guard out there cooking. Wes Clark destroyed him. CJ Massenberg, Nick Perkins. I had a great group of kids, man. I love that group. I had some Carruthers, Jordan. I mean, we had like those guards couldn't even get the bigs the ball. My guards were so into their guards against Arizona. Like, it was, I mean, Wes Clark hit a 3 with 2.5 left or so, and I looked up and did some quick math. I'm like, man, we're up 25. We called the timeout, got the walk-ons in that game. That was a big win. That kind of got us going. All right, we can play at the highest level. And the next year we were 14th in the country, and like you said, we beat Syracuse, won at West Virginia, beat Arizona State in the NCAA tournament. We were top 15 team in the country out of the MAC. So then I felt like that Arizona one really got us going. Losses, that Sweet 16 loss to San Diego State. We had the best team in the country. We were the best team. You go back and look, I felt like that. Brandon Miller was a little banged up that game. We didn't shoot it well. San Diego State, veteran, old group, did a great job. But man, we felt like we had a team that could win the whole thing that year, and we didn't make it out of the Sweet 16. That's why, to me, the NCAA tournament's the best sporting event in the planet every year, because upsets happen. You got teams that, I don't think anybody's going to call San Diego State a mid-major, but it was an upset. So we were on the wrong end of that upset. I was on the right end in the Arizona game. I was on the wrong end in that one. That's a tough loss. And, I mean, there's plenty of tough losses till I win the national championship. It's going to be the last game of the season. It's going to end up on a tough loss, and you're going to wish you could have done it a little differently. But that one really sticks out.
Well, final thing, Nate, let's wrap on this. What are the biggest long-term keys for this Alabama team to, again, have a chance to be a high seed on Selection Sunday and go as far as you've went in the NCAA tournament, which is the Final Four?
I think Our defense has to get shored up significantly better. We got to do a better job with our defensive rebounding, a better job in transition. So those are, and Arizona's great at that. So we got a great opportunity in front of us Saturday to get better at the two biggest areas of improvement we need to make. We got to do a better job turning people over. We haven't done a good enough job of that. So a lot of defensive things. Offensively, we got to do a better job rebounding it because, you may go 3 for 27 like we did against San Diego State. Again, how can you win the game? How can you score enough points? You're creating turnovers on defense, get out in transition, scoring off turnovers, and then getting second chance points on the old boards. You've got to be able to do both of those. So we got to make improvements on that, and we got to just keep getting better. Our offense is pretty good, but we got a long ways to go offensively. But defense, we got to make a huge jump to get where we were trying to go.
Well, Nate, it's going to be a lot of fun to cover, man. Appreciate a couple minutes. Know how busy you are. Looking forward to the game on Saturday against Arizona. And as always, look forward to staying connected along the way.
All right. Appreciate you, John. Always good talking to you. Roll Tide.
That's Alabama head coach Nate Oats. I'm Jon Rothstein, and this is Inside College Basketball Now.